So for my third example, again, if you're on the master branch, you have to say git checkout, then the name of the branch. But if you're already on the branch, you can just add the files. But then when you commit it, you can use this -- amend, which will take the changes and put them into the previous commit. You can also do -- no edit if you don't want to change the commit message. If you want to change the commit message, then just don't add that. And I'll show you the example where I actually do edit the commit message. So if I go over to my amazing code file here, maybe I forgot something down here, like if me. And if you look again, I have my untracked code right here. So I add it to the staging area. And then I can say git commit -- amend. So this will put it into the previous commit that I just made. If I do that, you see, if you don't have the -- no edit, then it'll pop up with this screen again, where you can actually change. Maybe I forgot to write something in my commit message. Cool. But then when you try to push it, you'll see, come on. Oh, there we go. You can see an error. You get a reference error. And that's because GitHub actually tells you, hey, this branch already has 2 commits, and you're trying to push 2 different commits because it changed the ID or the hash on your previous commit. So GitHub doesn't like that. So what you have to do, you have to just say force with lease. This will tell GitHub that, yeah, I know that I changed the history. Don't worry about it. You can also do just -- force like this, but force with lease is better because it can prevent certain things from breaking. Nice. So now you know how to create branches, add code, add more commits, or even amend your commits. Because all this is doing is just, you have your masters. We created a branch, we added the first commit 1, and then we added another commit 2. But then instead of adding the third commit, we actually just changed this one. So now it has another ID. It gets a new hash. But of course, since we pushed it, GitHub doesn't realize that this one is, it's slightly different, but it's in the same place. So it gets confused. You have to force with lease. And now you're actually ready to just merge it. So for my final example, I'll show you how to rebase your branch. There are 2 main ways of doing this. The first one is if you're already on the master branch. The second one is if you're on the branch that you want to rebase. So if you're on the master branch, you run git pull to make sure that your master is up to date and you have the latest changes. Then you jump to the branch that you want to rebase by using the git checkout. Then you run the git rebase master, which will update your current branch with the latest changes on master. Then you do git push force with lease. You have to do force with lease just like when you did the git commit amend, because you're changing the history. So if you're on the branch that you want to rebase, you can actually use the git fetch command. The git fetch will actually update a local copy you have of your remote repository, as you can see down here in the git rebase origin/master. The fetch command doesn't update your actual master branch, it updates the one in the origin/folder, which is just a copy you have. So git fetch, git rebase origin/master, and then you push it with force with lease again. I actually have an example where I have 4 different files. I have 2 commits on my master. This will be file 1 and file 2. This is where I created my branch, which adds a file 3. But I can see on GitHub that someone actually managed to add file 4 before I finished. So it's up here. But I want to use some of the features they made in the file 4 in my branch, so I want to update it. And as you can see here in my example, I have file 1 and 2, which means I'm still missing the 4th file. Since I'm on the master branch, I can just do git pull to get the 4th file. So git pull. As you can see over here, the 4th file appeared. Now, if I do git checkout to the file or the branch that I made, my branch, file 3, then you can see I have file 3, 1, 2, and then 3. So to get the latest changes on master, I'll just do git rebase and then master. Notice that because I used git pull, I can just do master. If you use the fetch, you have to do origin/. Now you can see that it's applying my changes. So now my branch will have file 1, 2, 3, and 4. So what I've effectively done is just take my branch and move it up to the top. So now when I finally merge my branch, it will actually be up here. This is how you achieve that linear history, by rebasing your branches and always keeping them up to date. For my last two slides, I want to talk about resolving conflicts, because this is one of the areas where people have a lot of problems, because often they don't really know how to resolve all the conflicts. And in the terminal, you just see a bunch of errors and mistakes, and people often get kind of worried that they broke something, but that's not necessarily the case. Conflicts happen if two people change the same part of the code base. So if I create a branch and then I start working on a file, we'll call it file.java. But in the meanwhile, if someone merges something into master, which changed the same lines of code that I'm changing, then Git doesn't really know which version of the code to use. And that's where you end up in a scenario like this. You can see it says head here. Head actually just means the master branch. So this is where you either merged or rebased on. So these changes here between the head and the equal signs will be all the changes that are currently on master, where the equal signs to the name of your branch down here will be the changes that you've added. And I've actually set up a little example to show this more clearly. Right now, I have a local repository where my hello world program simply says hello world. And this is where my master is pointing. I created a new branch where I changed this to hello all. But before I could merge it, someone actually added a new commit on master where it says goodbye world. Of course, now I can't just automatically merge this one because Git doesn't know which version to use. And GitHub will actually tell me this if I create a merge request. It'll tell me that I have to update it to resolve the conflicts. So how do we do that? Well, right now I'm on the master branch down here where it says hello world. And the first thing I'll do is actually just go to my hello all branch. So now, if you go look at the code, we can see that it says hello all. But I want to update it. So first thing I do is run git fetch to update the copy I have of the remote repository. So now my master is still pointing down here, but my origin/master actually contains the new commit up here. So now when I say git rebase on origin/master, you can see it throws a lot of errors because it doesn't know how to handle this. And you can actually see as well here that it says rebase 1 out of 1, which means there was one commit that caused one conflict. And if we go to the file, you can again see between the head and the equal signs, this is actually the goodbye world coming from the master branch. And the bottom is of course my hello all. Sometimes you might want to combine these two, but other times you can just use one or the other. If you want to combine them, then you would probably just copy some code from one side, move it over, and then fix the code like that. But of course, I don't want to be negative, so I'll just keep my hello all, which means I'll just remove all of these things that get inserted. So now it says hello all. And then over here, I would just add the file. And then you don't want to commit it. You actually want to say git rebase -- continue. That tells Git that you're done fixing the conflicts and it can now continue rebasing your changes. So when you run this, you can actually see. Again, it doesn't say the rebase 1 out of 1. And now I've actually rebased my branch, so I've changed it. So the master, of course, still says goodbye world, but my branch will now be on top and say hello all. So now I can actually merge it and Git will actually know how to handle it. There is also one other way of resolving conflicts, because some people don't really like the manual way of deleting the lines. There are certain tools you can use. And some editors actually have tools looking like this. I'm sorry that's a little blurry, but bear with me. It works very much the same, where over here you'll have your local changes, which is the changes from your branch. And over on the right, you'll have the changes from the server. So this would be everything on master. You can see all the green ones. They're the changes that you don't really have a conflict with. So you can just add all those automatically. Whereas the red ones is the ones where Git either thinks or knows that you changed something on the same lines, so it doesn't know which version to use. You can see here in the example that it used to be a while loop when you made your branch. And in your version, you made a for loop in one way, but on the master, they changed it to a for loop using a different way. So now you have to consider which version to use and then fix it. And then everything in the file in the middle will actually be the final version of your code. And a lot of editors and IDEs can actually do this for you. And there are also dedicated programs for it.